Closs County 911.
Hi. I have a young lady at my house right now, and she says her name is Jayme Closs.
Okay, what's your address?
It's in Gordon, Wisconsin.
Okay, have you seen her photo, ma'am?
Yes, it is her. I 100% think it is her.
Okay.
100%.
She was only 13 when the world she knew was shattered in a single horrifying night. It wasn't a slow unraveling. It didn't come with warning signs or a creeping shadow on the wall. No. For Jayme Closs, evil came with a shotgun. It came crashing through her front door at 1 a.m. on a quiet Monday morning in a small Wisconsin town where things like this weren't supposed to happen. It was October 15th, 2018. Jayme was sleeping in her bedroom when she heard her dog barking. Then came the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Lights, then silence. Within seconds, she heard her father's voice, alert, confused. Then came a boom. A shotgun blast so loud it shook the walls. Jayme's eyes snapped open. She got up and ran toward her mother, but it was too late. An intruder had entered their home, not a burglar, not a random drifter. This man knew exactly who he was there for. Jayme. He had been watching her, studying her, obsessing over her. And on this night, after weeks of planning, he was ready to strike. He shot her father, Jayme Closs, right there in the doorway. Cold, calculated, silent. Jayme and her mother, Denise, locked themselves in the bathroom. They tried to hide in the bathtub, clutching each other, praying the man would leave, but the door came crashing in. The man ordered Denise to duct tape Jayme's mouth shut. He made her mother bind her hands and ankles. Then he turned the shotgun on Denise and pulled the trigger. She died beside her daughter, inches away, and then he dragged Jayme out of her house and into his car. He had murdered her parents, two people who loved her, protected her, built her world, and now in the span of minutes they were gone. She was gone, and no one even knew it yet. As he drove away into the darkness, the sound of sirens began to echo behind them. A neighbor had heard the gunshots and called 911, but it was too late. By the time the police arrived, the house was drenched in blood. The door was blasted open. Her parents were dead, and Jayme had vanished. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no motive, no body, only questions. Who would kill two innocent people and kidnap a 13-year-old girl in the middle of nowhere, and why? The entire town of Barron, Wisconsin, erupted into panic. Hundreds of volunteers searched the woods, fields, ditches, anywhere a child could be hidden. Helicopters flew overhead. Billboards with Jayme's face went up across the state. The FBI got involved, but for 88 long, agonizing days, there was no sign of her. She was simply gone, dead or alive, no one could say. Her case became one of the most mysterious and gut-wrenching disappearances in recent American history. But what no one knew, what no one could imagine, was that Jayme Closs was still alive, just 70 miles away, locked inside a stranger's home, held prisoner in a small, windowless room, forced to live underneath a bed, for hours, for days, for months, trapped beneath weighted bins and boxes like an animal in a cage. No sunlight, no freedom, no contact with the outside world. And the man who did this to her, her abductor, wasn't some master criminal. He was a 21-year-old dropout named Jake Patterson. No criminal record, no alarming history, just one obsession, Jayme Closs. He didn't know her. He had never spoken to her. He had seen her once, riding the school bus. That was all it took. From that moment, he told himself he would take her. He quit his job just to make sure no one would notice if he disappeared. He shaved his head and eyebrows to avoid leaving evidence. He bought a shotgun, stole license plates, made plans, and waited for the perfect moment. Then he took her. And for 88 days Jayme Closs lived in his shadow, enduring fear, silence, and unimaginable isolation, until one day, she broke free. She ran, through the snow, through the woods, past the terror that held her captive, until she found a woman walking her dog. Trembling, barefoot and dirty, Jayme Closs spoke the words no one thought they'd ever hear again. "I'm Jayme Closs. What happened next?" How did she survive? What did she endure? And what became of the man who murdered her parents and stole nearly 3 months of her life? This is the story of a girl who refused to give up, even when the world thought she was gone. Jayme Closs was never just a victim, she was a fighter, and this is how she came home. When Jayme Closs whispered her name to that woman walking her dog on a quiet January afternoon, it was like the world suddenly snapped back into focus. For 88 days, her name had been plastered across news stations, billboards, gas station windows. Her story was everywhere, and yet she was nowhere. Until now. But let's back up, because the part that the headlines couldn't fully capture was what Jayme survived before that moment of escape. The house where she was taken, a modest, rundown home in the woods of Gordon, Wisconsin, looked normal on the outside. Inside, it was anything but. Jake Patterson, her abductor, had transformed the space into a prison. He lived alone, no friends, no visitors, no questions asked. For the first 2 weeks, Jayme was kept in a small, cold room, but it wasn't just a locked door. He had created a system, a terrifying, meticulous routine. When people came by, or when he left the house, he forced her under his bed, not once or twice, every single time. But she wasn't just told to hide under there. He stacked bins, weights, laundry baskets filled with heavy objects, all around and over the bed so she couldn't crawl out. She was trapped beneath it for hours at a time, sometimes for an entire day. Imagine that. 13 years old, no light, no food, no way to move, your knees jammed to your chest, your breath held every time a board creaked overhead, no clock, no time, no sense of day or night, just waiting, wondering if today would be the day he killed you. Jake had rules. If she tried to escape, he'd kill her. If she made a noise, he'd kill her. If she dared to leave the house, he'd kill her. And anyone who tried to help her. This wasn't just control, it was psychological warfare. Jayme later said that he wasn't just trying to hide her, he was trying to erase her, to make her disappear completely, not just from the world, but from herself. And here's the thing that truly chills you. Jake Patterson didn't act like a monster 24/7. No, he played mind games. He'd bring her snacks. He let her shower once in a while. Sometimes, he even made small talk, as if they were roommates, as if this horror show wasn't his doing. He'd watch TV, play video games, go grocery shopping, while the girl he murdered 2 people to abduct sat underneath a bed, silent, invisible, broken. But he underestimated one thing. Jayme Closs had not given up. Even in the darkest moments, even when she felt she had no control, no freedom, no hope, she was watching, observing, learning, waiting. She noticed when he left, how long he stayed out, what he wore, what roads he took. She memorized the layout of the house. She never stopped paying attention, because in her heart, even when it felt impossible, she believed she would get out. And then on January 10th, 2019, her chance came. That morning, Jake told her he'd be gone for a few hours. He didn't bolt her in. He didn't pile the bins. He got lazy. And Jayme, after 88 days of fear and silence, didn't hesitate. She pushed the bins aside. She ran. She ran from that house like her life depended on it, because it did. She sprinted through snow, wearing only a sweatshirt and leggings in the freezing Wisconsin winter. No shoes, no gloves, just raw adrenaline and survival instinct. And then on that road she found a woman, a total stranger, walking her dog, and she said the words that stunned a nation. "I'm Jayme Closs." The woman rushed her to the nearest home, a neighbor's place, Kristen and Peter Kasinskis. They had no idea who the girl was, but she looked scared, tired, and incredibly serious. And then they heard it again. "I'm Jayme. I was kidnapped." The police were called. The FBI was called. And within minutes, her face, that same missing child from the posters, was all over the news again. Only this time, she was alive and free. When Jayme Closs walked out of that forest barefoot, freezing and terrified, the world gasped. But only hours later another shockwave hit. Her abductor, Jake Patterson, was arrested. The takedown? Fast, clean, quiet. He was pulled over just miles from where Jayme had escaped, calmly driving back toward the home he thought was still hiding his secret. He didn't resist. He didn't plead. In fact, the moment officers cuffed him, he said 6 words that sent chills through every investigator in the room. "I did it. I took her." There was no chase, no denial, just a flat, emotionless confession, like he was handing over a stolen object, not a human life. And when they brought him in for questioning, what he revealed was almost too calculated to believe. Jake Patterson hadn't known Jayme personally. They had no connection, no friendship, not even a passing glance. He saw her once, getting on a school bus while he was driving to work. That was it. One moment, one look, and from that moment on he decided he would take her. That decision, built on nothing but a single glimpse, would destroy 2 lives and end 2 more. Jake had no criminal record, no priors, no major mental health history, but what he did have was time and obsession. He quit his job just days before the abduction, so he'd have no schedule to answer to. He shaved his head and face so he wouldn't leave hair evidence. He swapped out license plates, stole his dad's shotgun, wore gloves. He planned everything, except what would happen after. He didn't expect the nation to erupt in grief and rage. He didn't expect every law enforcement agency in the country to join the hunt. And he certainly didn't expect Jayme Closs to survive, but she did. In fact, it was her bravery, not his carelessness, that ended this nightmare. Because here's something not everyone realizes. Jake Patterson didn't let Jayme go. She freed herself. When authorities entered the cabin where she had been kept, they found the bed, the bins, the blocked windows, the isolation. But most horrifying of all, they realized she had been left completely alone for hours at a time. He didn't have to chain her up. He had mentally caged her so completely she didn't try to run, until she decided to fight back. And when she did, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. There were no sirens, no guns, just silence, then movement, then freedom. When she was reunited with her family, there were no cameras allowed, just tears, hugs, the kind of cries that come from places words can't reach. She had been gone 88 days, her parents murdered in front of her, her childhood ripped away, and yet somehow, impossibly, she survived. In court, Jake Patterson sat stone-faced, a young man who had stolen so much, and yet even as Jayme's impact statement was read, he barely blinked. He didn't fight the charges. He pled guilty, sentenced to life in prison without parole. Jayme didn't attend the sentencing, but she didn't need to, because she had already won. When the cameras packed up, when the sirens stopped blaring, and when Jake Patterson was locked away behind bars forever, that's when the real battle began. Because Jayme Closs wasn't just a missing child anymore, she was a survivor. And survival, as it turns out, doesn't end when you're found. It starts over, in a world that moved on without you, in a life forever divided into before and after. Jayme was just 13. She had no parents to return home to. Her house, the one that once smelled like dinner and safety and bedtime routines, was a crime scene. The rooms were empty. The walls carried echoes of screams, bullet holes, blood. So where do you go when you've survived the unthinkable? Jayme moved in with an aunt, the closest remaining family. She didn't speak much to the press, and who could blame her? Because everyone wanted something from her now, a statement, an interview, a soundbite. But Jayme wasn't interested in being famous. She wanted something no one could give her: peace. She was healing, yes, but the public didn't understand that healing doesn't always look like strength. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it's shaking in a quiet room at night. Sometimes it's waking up screaming, or not sleeping at all. Her classmates welcomed her back with love, a sea of green ribbons, her favorite color, hung on lockers, light poles, trees. But Jayme had changed. She'd grown up in 3 months in ways most people never will in a lifetime, and yet she didn't disappear into trauma. No, she spoke, eventually, carefully, when she was ready. In a private statement read by her guardian, Jayme said, "I really want to thank everyone for all the kindness and concern that people all over the country have shown me. I'm very happy to be home with my family. I will need time to talk, but I am so grateful for the support." The nation listened, and for once it respected her silence. But then, something extraordinary happened. Jayme Closs received an award. Not just any award, the Hometown Hero Award, given by the Wisconsin State Assembly. She was honored not just for surviving, but for escaping, for enduring, for never giving up. Even the FBI marveled at her resilience. "She's the hero," they said. "She's the reason we're not telling a different story today." Because think about it, she wasn't just kidnapped. She witnessed her parents' murders. She lived in fear, isolated and brainwashed for nearly 3 months. And yet she still remembered who she was. She still waited for a chance. She still ran. That kind of strength doesn't come from books, or movies, or rescue teams. That comes from within. And in a quiet Wisconsin town, where tragedy once stained the snow, a community lit candles, rang bells, and held their children tighter. Jayme Closs wasn't just back, she was a symbol that even in the darkest, most hopeless moments, light fights its way through. But here's the part no one talks about. Jayme didn't owe the world anything. Not her story, not her pain, not her time. But the world still watched, still asked, and she did something even more heroic than surviving. She lived, fully, completely, loudly. Jayme Closs didn't let evil define her life. She took her power back, and she reminded all of us that survival isn't about what happens to you, it's about what you do next. Jayme Closs didn't fade into the shadows. She could have. She had every reason to retreat, to hide, to let the weight of her trauma pull her under, but instead, she chose the opposite. She chose light. In the years following her escape, Jayme stayed out of the spotlight, but not out of purpose. She worked with survivors, spoke quietly to advocates, donated time and energy to groups helping other children process grief, fear, and survival. She found a way to make her pain matter, and while she never sought fame, her name became synonymous with strength. She became a reminder to families of missing persons to never stop hoping, a reminder to survivors that their trauma doesn't erase their future, and a reminder to predators like Jake Patterson that even the most controlled victim can outsmart the evil. Because Jayme didn't just survive her abduction, she conquered it, and now her legacy is more than just a headline. It's a statement that monsters can be defeated, that courage isn't always loud, and that sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest power. To this day, Jayme Closs remains one of the most inspiring, unforgettable figures in modern true crime, not because of what happened to her, but because of how she rose from it. And if you're watching this now, remember, someone out there is still missing, still trapped, still waiting for the world to care. And your voice, yes, your voice might be the one that helps bring them home. If this story moved you, if Jayme's strength inspired you, then please subscribe for more real-life survival stories that matter. Like this video to honor Jayme's courage. Comment below with the word strength if you believe in fighting for the voiceless. Share this video because you never know who needs hope today. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never ever underestimate the power of survival.